Alright, so this is the second take of trying to record this because I'm terrible at remembering what I want to say for these. So if you don't really care, I'm going to go through some quick information regarding the Haikyuu replacement poll. Again, if you don't really care about that, pinned comment, it'll be where the poll is for the replacement. There's just two specific things that I want to get through real quick. The first thing is just how the poll is going to work in general. I said straw poll. It's not a straw poll. It's Google Forms. I adopted Tiabu's method. Tiabu's another anime reaction channel. I will link his video timestamped to where he talks about the specifics about why this method works better than just like a binary yes or no poll. I'll link that like maybe in the description or something. And but the long and short of it, like a really simplified version of it, I'll put some graphics on screen like over here or somewhere where you can see it to give an idea of what the poll currently looks like. And so the idea is for all of the shows that you see in the very first column on the far left of the image is you pick one of the options on the other columns for each of the shows, right? So for example, let's go with Welcome to the NHK at the top of the screenshot here. The meh in the middle is basically no opinion. You're basically saying, I don't care if this wins the poll, I don't care if it loses the poll, maybe I'll watch it if you react to it, maybe I won't, who's to say. Nah is basically, no, I do not want you to react to this. And no, no, no is basically, I don't want to see you react to this, not now, not ever. Never in this channel lifetime do I want you to see your reaction to this. Then yeah, on the other side, is yes, I do want to see you react to this, and then yes, yes, yes on the far end is basically saying, I would like you to react to this right now, if possible, basically as soon as possible. So those are the rundown of all the options for each of the shows shown on the left-hand side. You pick one of those things, and the reason why it's better than normal polls is that it'll give me a better look at what people potentially want to see, or really, really don't want to see, or will maybe see if it wins. It basically gives you a more nuanced understanding of what the audience wants to see. The other thing you might have noticed is that there's double the amount of shows on this poll than I initially said there were going to be. There's going to be 5, 3 I pick, 2 that are most popular among the comments. Now there's 10. 10 that I pick, and 10 from the most 5 that I pick, and 5 that are most popular from the comments. When I collected data, it was a little bit weird. I didn't know what I was doing exactly. I put it in a spreadsheet and I was trying to make heads or tails of it, and it took me a while, but I eventually found something that I feel like will probably work. But in the end, I also decided to double the poll. So the 5 shows that were the most popular among the comments that I saw from the information I gathered and it might be incredibly flawed, were the Monogatari series, Beelzebub, Odd Taxi, Daily Lives of High School Boys, and March Comes In Like a Lion. All shows that I've at least heard of before. I don't know much about them, but I'm really interested in. And then the 5 that I chose, technically 4 if you want to be really anal about it, but obviously the already established ones, Welcome to the NHK, Great Teacher Onizuka, and Spice and Wolf. And on top of that, Cautious Hero, and then the kind of weird one, that being Natsume's Book of Friends. That was also recommended in the comments, but it wasn't particularly high up. But from the title, I thought it was going to be like a slice of life comedy about a guy who I think I figured would be like friends with yokai or something, because that's the anime thing to do, and has a book about them and keeps track of things. But then I actually read the synopsis on Mal, and I'm like, whoa, this is really interesting. So I put it on there. Either way, that's basically it. I've been talking for way longer than I have needed to be. There were some failed takes in there, so it probably won't be as long as I think it is, but either way. I hope this doesn't turn out horribly. I probably, thankfully, won't have to make these long things where I talk about polls for too long very often. If I'm going to do polls in the future, I might just do separate videos where I just talk about what's going to be on the poll and then announce results or something like that. I don't know. Having them be separate from normal reaction seems like it would make sense, but anyway, with that all being said, we're gonna get started with episodes 88 and 89 of Gintama. The last 2 episodes were absolutely fantastic. I'm really, really excited to get into these next 2 episodes, and it's kind of ironic because I didn't even know that episode 86 and 87 were going to be as good as they were. But not only it was a really good, and it got a lot of people interested to watch it because it's one of those things that a lot of Gintama fans probably praise as being one of the best in the show. It's also when I announce there's going to be new shows, so that we get more people into voice what they want to see, and potentially stick around to see how those go. You know what I mean? But I can't wait to see what happens in 88 and 89. I don't think they're not until episode 94, 95, according to my guide. So these episodes, I assume, won't be very connected to each other until that point. But either way, let's get started with episode 88 and 89 of Gintama. As always, unless you're new here, links down in the description below will take you to the full-length uncut reaction. So you can go there, watch the reaction, and you can come back to YouTube where you can watch the discussion. So without further ado, let's get started with the reaction. Episode 88 of Gintama. This was a really funny episode. I really enjoyed the whole dynamic. I really enjoyed the comparison of how their Gokun or whatever it was being compared to just like a big line of tables at an elementary school between the boys and girls, and trying to figure out how to start a conversation. I don't think Kyubey has or will fall in love with Gintoki, just because I feel like that would be a bit of a cliche, unless Arashi was somehow able to make it work. I feel like having Kyubey as she is right now is fine. Obviously, more character development generally can't be a bad thing, but either way, this is a really fun episode, and maybe Kyubey, because and correct me if I'm wrong, it's been a little while, but I don't remember. Did Kyubey express sentiments that she wanted to be herself? I think clearly that's part of it. I don't remember if she said she ever wanted to wear cute clothes, but I think she just wants to go at her own pace, you know what I mean? Sorry, I just accidentally went on the frame of when Kondo was wearing the eye patch. I really loved Katsu in this episode, because I need to go. It was episode 50, I think, was the only time that we saw rapping Katsura, and that was a filler episode. So I don't know if they just knew that was gonna happen later on in the show, and they're just like, all right, let's put it in, or you know what I mean? I don't know. But either way, it was great. Not very good rap, but it's still impressive that he tried. I respect the attempts, and it's up there in my top 2 top 3 anime raps, because the first one, number 1, it's definitely got to be Zombieland Saga, then this one probably, and then number 3 is basically all the raps from the Devilman Crybaby, the 2019, was that 2019? Devilman Crybaby with, what's his name? I need to go check real quick. Okay, no, 2018, close enough. All the raps in the 2018 Devilman, those are fun. Something else I found kind of interesting was when Kyubey was crying watching Kondo and Katsura with their odd bond. Even though they're always fighting, it's through their fighting that they get to know each other, and I was kind of saying it before, but they're kind of like, how do I put it? They're kind of similar in that they're goofy as fuck, but they're leaders of big organizations, and they have people to look up to them, even though we haven't seen very many of Katsura's organization outside of himself that look up to Katsura, like Hijikata and Sogo look up to Kondo, you know, but they're kind of in similar positions in that they're very incompetent. They can sometimes be competent when they want to be, but they have a lot more in common, so they can bond even though they're technically enemies. And so it was interesting to see that whole thing go down, and it was definitely interesting to see Kyubey. I don't know if her crying to that was meant to mean anything, or if it was just like she just thought it was like a beautiful thing and she was just so emotionally affected by it. But I do like, and like I was saying, I don't think Kyubey would fall in love with Gintoki. I don't think that would be a particularly good plot point. Who knows, maybe it would be, but I'd still like that she is at the very least starting to become more trusting of men and other people, you know what I mean? The fact that she said that Gintoki was willing to risk his life, and even though she reflexively attacks men that touch her, she willingly stuck out her hand to save a man because of how because of how he put his life on the line, and it's only, you know, like, fair type thing. So at the very least, I can see them becoming closer as, like, friends. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about this episode. Great episode. So I'm gonna get to the next episode. First thing I need to look up real quick. Is that real? Did that happen in the manga? Anime filler list, Gintama. That's not the right. First thing I need to do is look up. That was episode. What episode was that? Episode 89, right? Episode 89. It was manga canon. No way. I guess they were just making a lot of references to the anime, and I think, even though there hasn't been much filler, I think there is a sort of a benefit afforded to Gintama as a series in regards to filler. But first things first, this was an amazing episode. I loved it. Very up there in terms of great comedy. I especially loved all the Bleach references. Bleach is one of my all-time favorite manga. I also really, for the most part, enjoyed the anime. And I'm super excited to see the 1,000 Year Blood War anime whenever that comes out, potentially sometime next year. Ugh. Just from having read the manga, I know it's going to be good, but knowing that Kubo is probably going to make some changes here and there to extend it and expand on some things just makes me even more excited. And I haven't finished reading the Can't Fear Your Own World novels. I've only read the first one, but some of the stuff in there is really interesting, so I can't wait to see what happens. But in regards to, like, say, the Bleach anime, where it has a lot of fillers, I think even though Gintama doesn't have a lot of fillers, it wouldn't, or maybe if it did have an excess of fillers, it would have suffered. But based on the fillers that I've seen so far in this show, the reason why they work so well when other series filler doesn't is because of the nature of Gintama as a series. Because the main reason why filler can't do very, or is like, it's like kneecapped from the start, from the get-go. It's already fighting an uphill battle to get people interested in it. Why? Because almost nothing can happen unless you, like, the fillers cannot, especially for, like, a battle series, not much can happen because you can't have significant power-ups, you can't have any significant character growth, you cannot have any deaths, you cannot have an opponent who is stronger than the characters are right now, or is stronger than the main villain of the arc, because all of that just, it will confuse the audience and it will make no sense because of what's actually canon in the series. Like, you can't introduce, like, a new attack or have character growth. You can't have, nothing significant can happen in a filler arc because it will immediately become invalid once you get back to canon, unless you try your best to implement it with the rest of the series, which is very difficult to do. Bleach tried it with the Bounce arc and the the Bounce arc and the whatever it was, the what were they called? The one where the main bad guy was named Gintoki. I forget what his name is, but it's like, or wait, were they the Bounce? You know what? They were the Bounce, right? And they tried to keep around some characters that were similar to Kon, you know, the little plush dolls or whatever. They tried to keep them around as long as they could in the main series, so to basically make the Bounce arc anime canon and not filler, but they ended up giving up, and it's just filler anyway. And if you skip the filler arc like most people do when they watch Bleach, they're just confused as to why they're there. So what benefit Gintama is afforded as is from the way the series is itself. The series isn't focused on battles or fighting, so if they wanted to, they could have a filler arc where there's a huge fight and there's power-ups and there's significant character growth, and the only thing they have to do to immediately just like separate it and make it like, they're allowed to do that basically, and just say, oh, by the way, it's not connected to the series. Like, they would, like, Bleach has made jokes about that, like in end credit scenes, like surrounding or sometimes in filler arcs, where like the characters will be like, hey, when are we going to get back to this part of the Iranka arc? And they're like, hey, didn't you read the script, Ichigo? You're not going to be the main character for a long time. Which is pretty funny, but at the same time, since Gintama is the way it is, Gintama would be basically the only show balls enough to, like, actually just say that in the middle of the show, like how they do when they complain about the budget or whatever. And it's really great. And since since because of what the series is, Gintama can just have a filler episode that's just completely dedicated to comedy. Gintama can basically do whatever they want with their filler because of how the show is. They can reference things, break the fourth wall they want, because they already do that sometimes in the main series. All they have to do is just write down what they think is funny, and it works. It just works like no other series. It can't work for any series like that because of what the other series are set up as. It just doesn't work. I went on so long. That was completely unnecessary, but anyway. Great episode. I liked... we got to see more of Sogo's sadism in action, and and I really liked the mini plots with the sword spirits or whatever. I doubt they'll ever come back into play later, maybe as a reference or something, but I just ended up feeling bad for like Toyako, I believe his name was, and I initially felt bad for the victory goddess. I don't think we got her name. But then I ended up being completely on Sogo's side. I'm totally fine with what he did. That was great. But man, great 2 episodes. If you enjoyed these videos, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single upload in the future. Thank you all for watching.